Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. There has been a rise of Necromancer across all the regions. As you can see from this chart from the Diablo TV, which they released data for PvP, and you can see the Necromancer, a lot of people are playing Necromancer. In fact, the most number of classes in the Legends rank is the Necromancer. And this data is from last week, and I believe in this week, even more players have switched to the Necromancer. And that is because there is a build right now for Necromancer that just simply works and it's pretty good. So in this video, I am going to present you a build that is slightly modified with the build that is the meta build for the Necromancer. I'll tell you what's the meta, but I'll tell you the slight adjustments and modifications that I have done to this build. I have been playing Necromancer for the last 3 streams, trying to analyze which setup is the best one, like changing the gears, changing the legendary gems, trying different paragons just to see which one works the best. So in this video, I'm going to show you the meta Necromancer build, but slightly modified, the one that worked best for me. And at the end, I'll also show you gameplay footage, although you can check the last stream here, the one after my 69th stream, you can check all the gameplay there also, but I'll show you some footage in this video as well. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. So guys, let's start the breakdown of the build. This is going to be a DoT Necromancer build, like damage over time. But I'll tell you that DoT is not the only driving force of this build. There are some other essences, very key essences, which are actually the main force, the life force of this build. So let's check out the skills that I'm using. Obviously, we are using Grim Scythe, Skeletal Mage, Wraith Form, and Bone Armor. Now let's check out the essences. So first, let's start with the offensive skills and essences. The second most important skill is the Grim Scythe, and for the Grim Scythe, we are using the main hand, Death Disseminates. Some people are also using Defiling Swarm, but after testing, I found that Death Disseminates is much better. Defiling Swarm is the one where the Grim Scythe is going to revolve around you, so it is easier to apply dots to enemies. But I personally felt that Death Disseminate is much more stronger. So, and especially for dot builds, this is very good. So I will always recommend Death Disseminates for Grim Scythe. Now Grim Scythe has other essences as well. For the pants, we are not going to use the one that is going to trigger all the dot at the same time, the raving silence. What we are going to do is we are going to use the bleed pants. This is going to add another dot from your Grim Scythe. And now one of the most important essence of this build is this helmet. This is kind of crazy, it's kind of broken, because Grim Scythe is going to mark the enemy for 6 seconds, and this Grim Scythe, actually this Death Disseminates, has a cooldown of 6 seconds. So technically you can always keep this mark up on the enemy, right? Plus, if the mark enemy is taking 5 damage, it is going to explode and deal 17,000 damage at my resonance at 2500. This is huge. The damage is huge, and for a dot build, it is going to be very easy to proc this again and again, which I'll show you later how it gets procced again and again, right? So this is going to be the main damage dealer, this particular helmet, kind of the key essence, right? So to get more of these proc of this helmet proc, one of the most important essence is going to be Skeletal Mage. Now the Skeletal Mage that we are going to use, this is one of the best new essences of this class, is the Scattered Light. What it does is going to summon 2 Skeletal Mage. These are untargetable, and these are very good and spreading dots and also doing a lot of attacks, right? So for Skeletal Mage, we are going to use an offhand, and this is the slight change that I have done here. I've seen that most of the people are using Skeletal Mage for critical hit chance shoulder. This is, a lot of people are using this because they want to trigger the Everlasting Torment gem, because that triggers only with crit chance. But I personally believe the attack speed, the one which increases the attack speed of Skeletal Mage, is going to be more effective here, because the more number of attacks of Skeletal Mage, the more number of times you can proc this particular helmet. And also Grace, we are also using Grace set, so the number of Grace set procs is also going to increase. Hence I think these mages are very important for this build, and using attack speed is better choice in my opinion. So this is the slight modification that I have done. Now moving on, this is the offensive essences. Now for defensive stats, we are using bone armor, draw deep. This has been a very good the essence. Right now the meta is all about shields, and draw deep is going to give you shields passively whenever you are going to assist. I believe whenever you assist, even in assist like a death, this is going to give you a shield. Obviously when you kill an enemy, this is also going to give you a shield. But you can also click on it and you can get a shield as well, and this shield is pretty good, right? So I'll tell you how to use this later on in the video. And finally we have wraith form, and we are using a stroke of midnight just to reduce the cooldown of the wraith form, right? So these are the essences, and the last one is soulfire, has a 25% chance to explode on hit. So these are the essences, these are the skills. Now let's move on to eternal affixes, because these days without eternal affixes PvP build are just not complete. So one of the most important one is definitely going to be wraith form, because you want to use the wraith form again and again just for survival and even to dive in, right? So I think this is going to be the most important one. Apart from this, a very good one is going to be Grim Scythe. It slows the enemy by 15% for 6 seconds. At least have one of these. Why one of these at least? Because what we are doing is we are using detested 6-piece. This one has the most amount of damage, and this particular thing, the Grim Scythe slow is going to help you proc detested. So yeah, this is the main idea. I have 2 of them. If you get at least one, that is going to be fine here. Now next, let's check out the set items. For this build, the set items that we are using is 4 pieces of grace. So when you have dots, when you have so many fast attacks from mages, grace is going to proc again and again the 4-piece. Again a big source of damage along with this particular helmet, right? So 4 pieces of grace. We are using Feasting Barons 2-piece and Vithus Urges 2-piece. Vithus definitely for wraith form, and Feasting Barons, why you may ask, for your dots. Because now next is we are going to check out the legendary gems, and in legendary gems the duration of the dots can be increased using Feasting Barons, right? And hence Feasting Barons is a must-have in this particular setup. I have done a lot of research with this particular gem setup, and I found some things that really work well, some things not so much, right? So what I found was at least you need 2 dot gems at least. So right now, like I have blood flow, this is going to give me 1 bleed dot, and also Viper's Bite, right? Now you can have more. Ideally what you can do is you can also use Everlasting Torment. I use Everlasting Torment and it was good. Ideally I'll say Everlasting Torment is very good, but if you are okay to reduce your resonance, right? Otherwise go for blood flow, this one, or you can even use Sleeping Bile in this particular build, because there are going to be so many attacks, so many small attacks that Sleeping Bile can proc very often, right? So this is the setup that I'm using. I'm using crit chance. I'm using 2 gems for crit for roiling. I'm also using the Mother's Lament, and obviously Pain Class for damage, Blood Soaked Jade for movement speed. Colossus Engine, instead of Colossus Engine, what you will do, that is by mistake I've kept here, the gem I'm using is Haunt Coil. Haunt Coil is pretty good in this particular setup. What I prefer is some defensive layer as well, because as Necromancer you are going to going in close range with the enemies in this particular build. So I do prefer some defensive layers, and Haunt Coil is in defensive, in your defensive stance is pretty good. I prefer the defensive stance for Haunt Coil here, but yeah, you have to test and see for your character what suits what suits the best. So in my opinion, Haunt Coil defensive one. And also I'm using the Crimson Behelit. This is also for reducing the damage. Now if you may not have Crimson Behelit or Haunt Coil, what other alternatives you have for legendary gems? So the ones that I will recommend is going to be definitely like I already said, Everlasting Torment. You also have Sleeping Bile. What you can also do is you can use Bottled Hope, obviously. And you can also use, there's one more that I was thinking about. Yeah, and one more that I was thinking about is Misery Elixir. It is going to increase the duration by 8% more, right? 30% is by this one, right? So this is the legendary gems that are very, very important for this particular build. But the most important defensive layers for this build, as I'm using Brawler. Now, most people you'll see the meta is using Gladiator, and I am a big fan of Gladiator. I hardly use anything other else than Gladiator. But for this particular build, I actually like the Brawler because of the shield and the damage reduction that we get. I think this is Gladiator. The Brawler works very, very fine, right? So I'll go with Brawler any day. And for the legendary skills, definitely you have to go with Curse of the Weakness. This is going to reduce the damage the enemy takes, right? So you can see there are a lot of offensive options, there are a lot of defensive layers, so that this makes a very balanced approach for this particular build. Now moving on to one of the most important thing that makes this build, you know, takes it to the next level is the secondary stats, and the most important is going to be potency. Now you can see my armor pen is pretty low. I've mostly focused on potency. Potency is going to be the #1 priority. The #2 priority is probably going to be armor pen. Now I don't have it like you know, secondary gems, secondary stats are not cheap to get, to be honest. So yeah, I've focused on armor throughout. So I use armor. It's always good. Both of them are good, but I think armor penetration, if you have like very high armor pen plus high potency, this build is going to shine even more because you are going to do a lot of crit damage, right? So yeah, these are the two stats. But even without high armor pen, I think I'm able to do pretty well, as you will see later in the gameplay footage. Potency is going to be your most important, because all the dots, the duration is going to increase, right? And even haunt coil duration increases with potency, right? So there is a lot of things going on with potency here. For the reforges, I use something defensive type of reforges, right? So like I am using block chance, damage taken from player reduction, beneficial effect duration, slow resistance, right? Actually not slow resistance, but what I'll prefer is going to be damage taken while movement, right? So yeah, damage taken while suffering loss of control decreased by 2%, right? So defensive kind of defensive type of, you know, reforges, right? So yeah guys, that is all going to be about this build. Now very important, how to play this build, right? What is the skill rotation, because this is very important to master, right? So how I do it is always use your mages. These have 100% uptime, so always make sure your mages are up whenever you are going to, you know, diving in. These are going to provide you with everything, all the damage that you need, right? So go for mages. Then what you do is you want to apply this Grim Scythe. Now Grim Scythe is not going to be applied until you have a target. It is easier to apply if you're on phone, but after some practice, even on PC, it's not a problem. I've tried it, right? So what you do is you go there, you see there's an enemy here, you try to make sure that you apply this Grim Scythe and immediately go in Wraith form and try to move around him, like around in the borders, like in the corners. By that time, you know, your mages are going to hit the enemy, and your helmet essence is going to proc again and again. This particular helmet, right? It's going to, every time it hits 5 damage, the helmet is going to proc, right? And there is no cooldown, I think, for the helmet, right? So the dot is going to get applied, and all the mages are going to attack the enemy, right? So if the enemy is trying to run away, try to follow the enemy, because your mages is going to, you know, move with you and keep going to attack the enemy, right? So this is the that's it, more or less. But what you can do is, you see there are 2 enemies, you can click on the shield button and then jump in, right? And then jump in, because shields are going to be very important here. And sometimes, you know, for the shield, it passively is once you kill the enemy, or even when you assist. I think even when you assist, you're going to get shield. But once you click on it, you're going to get a bigger shield. So a lot of the time I actually click on the shield, right? And I don't wait for the passive shields to come. I just go in, dive in, just for an extra layer of protection. Yeah, so the rotation is pretty simple, very straightforward, right? Most of the work is going to be done by your dots. A lot of the time you'll see you are off the screen, the enemy is off the screen, and still you're going to get kills, right? So yeah, that is mostly the gameplay. Pretty simple, right? The most difficult part is applying this Grim Scythe and then immediately going to Wraith form to save yourself, because this is very close to the enemy. So enemy might attack you, right? So you need to go into Wraith form as soon as you apply the Grim Scythe, right? And your mage is going to take care of everything else. So yeah, that is going to be the rotation. Now for the gameplay, I'm going to show you the gameplay. I hope you enjoy it. These are footage from my basically the past 2 streams, past 1 stream mostly, right? But if you want the full stream, you can check out the full stream as well. I'll link the whole stream in the comments below, so you can check out the entire gameplay. But I'll still going to show you the gameplay, some of the footage, some of the extracts, some of the good kills that I got during the stream. Yeah, I do stream pretty often, more often, so make sure you join the stream, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out any stream. You can ask any questions or any suggestions that you have in the stream or in the comment section of this video. So I hope you enjoy this gameplay. Nice, but that is not a wizard, right? That is a demon hunter, I guess. How is this possible? Like, get dotted. It's a weird thing to say, get dotted. Five wizards. Dead. Let's get back here. Oh, why do I change my stance? Sometimes I change my stance by mistake. Just old habits. We go here, we go here. Boom. Dead. Come on, die, die, die. No, he has cheat. Undying Rage. Here comes the... to do a lot of heavy lifting here. That's why I cannot check the chat right now. Go, 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 go. Not dead? Dead. Now it's your turn, bitch. Get dotted. Now it's his turn, man. Okay. That will be it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.